Edwards on the drive, goes inside the floater. Turn him over again. Booker scoops it up. Booker brings the boom.
We are bringing the boom on this thirsty Thursday at Run Pure Sports. Wherever you are, hope you're doing well and staying safe. There is fire on the West Coast, ice on the East Coast. It's a wild, wild week out there, but we've got NBA. We've had, well, the game wasn't on the slate, but there was one game canceled. We do have the Dallas game moved up a little bit because they want to get the guys out of there after that game with the snow in the Midwest. It's supposed to snow here in Atlanta tomorrow, which is insane because the last time it snowed was around Christmas of 2019. So I might not be able to leave the house all weekend, guys, which is fine with me because we've got NBA, we've got wild card football, the college playoff. Semifinals begin this evening. It's a good time to be snowed in. It's never a good time to have your house burned down, though. So seriously, thoughts to anyone that's dealing with that. I've got some friends in the West Coast that I talked to over the last couple of days, but we got 7 games. Let's get to focus. Just before we came on, Mangone, Sweet Travis was fired up. He was cursing. I hope he brings that same energy, DC, throughout the whole show here this evening because we need, I mean, it's been a pain in the ass carrying this guy since the start of the NBA season. He's got this weird background. He looks like he's, almost hypothermic. But tonight he seems lively, so I'm excited to get to him. But I'm going to start with you, DC. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. You never know what Travis Mangone's going to show up for the show. So it seems like it's going to be the good version today. So we're excited for that. We're excited for NBA tonight. Speaking of fires, I mean, the NBA, it seems like every slate is a specific kind of fire with the injury news. I mean, I was, digging into the slate, looking at like the Memphis news, and you're like looking at it, this guy in who would benefit, and eventually you're like, man, this is just absurd to be doing this. So you go online to X and see what's going on in the world, and it's more craziness there, but we'll get to the bottom of it. We'll make some strong teams, hopefully pick some winners, and it is a little odd right now, JT, comparing these NBA slates to the 6 football games that we have coming up this weekend, which I am really, really excited for a number of reasons. But for now, NBA, trying to get to the winner's circle tonight.
Yeah, and before we came on, we were talking about, all right, what are we going to look at here in terms of the injury report? And for a moment, I got a little too excited because I said, oh, man, we have the Warrior news. So it's not like we have to try and guess which of these bench pieces are going to start and which of them are actually going to play minutes. So that was nice. And then I get to the Memphis game, Travis. And we're just sitting here shaking our heads saying, man, almost some days it's like, why do we play this sport? And the reason why is that game's an hour into the slate. And so you're looking at Cleveland on a back-to-back. You've got Donovan Mitchell out. So there's some guys that are going to benefit there. You look at, there's some Detroit pieces, I guess, that you could be interested in, maybe an Orlando piece here or there. But it's really going to be difficult to make lineups. This is a night where you have to be paying attention at least until, and because it's Memphis, Travis, it's not a half hour before. They're not going to comply with the league rules. You may get that starting lineup 10 minutes before. You may get that news at 7:45. So certainly some things to be paying attention to. But Travis, talk to us. You were fired up. I love to see it.
Yeah. Memphis is a big piece of news, but we might get that. I'd say we get that an hour and a half before that game. So we'll get an update, right? An update at 6:30 Eastern. I don't know what the update will be. It could be, hey, this guy's questionable, this guy's doubtful, this one's probable.
They're all going to be game time decisions.
Yeah. But that is a key thing that we are going to get in about 23 minutes. So that will help us decide what do we do with our decisions, right? Because you might get some of the tags as doubtful, and someone like DC might be like, okay, it's time to backload and not give a shit about these first games. I want to deal with a Steve Kerr rotation with all the guys available. No, I don't want to deal with that, right? So that's something that we're watching for. That's going to be really important. That's going to be a big thing you got to swap with tonight. So I'm waiting on that. Of course, we'll be breaking down the games for you guys as we move along as well.
All right, so Travis thinks we're going to get this during the show. We're going to get this Memphis news.
We'll get an update. I don't know. The update could be questionable again, but we will get an update. We always do. We get the hour and a half update, and it could be bullshit.
Don't misconstrue Travis's thoughts, JT, please.
Yeah, you're good at that, JT. I'm having a great morning, and you're trying to ruin it, okay?
All right. A great morning. Travis is coming to us from Thailand. We will go into the slate now. 7 games. AP is in saying Bane and Santi will play. Ja is 50-50. All right, AP.
That's important because AP is probably giving us the info from Memphis Doug, right? So
he does have that source. So
AP does have a good source, but there was one slate where like he was really sure about this like backup center that was going to get all the minutes. This is like 3 years ago, and I had a fantastic team, and this guy got like a DNP and didn't even get on the court. So I don't trust AP's Grizzlies source quite as much as he does.
All right. DC now bring a little bit of spice to the show. Brittany is in here. She's asking someone how somebody's court date went.
That was me, JT. I had a virtual court meeting today because when I was in New Jersey, I could not present my insurance. I couldn't find the paper, and then I had to log onto my account. I couldn't get in my account on my phone, and I had to put the old real estate suit on. I looked good on the Zoom call, and I talked to the judge, and I, got half the fine. So yes, I went to court today. I woke up at 6 a.m. I shaved too. Wanted to look good, so there you
go. When court was over, you put your pajamas back on.
I slid right back in the bed, and then I went out. I went out an hour later, grabbed some coffee. It was a good day, but I did court today. It was interesting.
Travis Mangone, noted scofflaw, is with us here from a foreign country. All right, let's get into the games. Travis, we'll start with you because you're so full of energy with your long day. We've got Minnesota and Orlando. Minnesota favored by 5.5. Travis, a very, very underwhelming 199 total for the Timberwolves and the Magic. Injuries here pretty much all on the Orlando side. Paolo Banchero, he's going to return tomorrow, not tonight. Gary Harris is out, and Jalen Suggs is going to be out as well. Are you interested in Cole Anthony here again, Travis? Anthony Black, what else are you looking at, if anything, in this game? The Wolves favored by 5.5, but been a while since we've seen a 199.
Yeah, but before we get started, he asked if I put pants on. I actually did because I was like, what if I do have to stand up, right? I have no idea. So I put the pants on. I made myself.
Taking oath, right? You would have had to stand up. That would have been embarrassing.
I will say there was one lady on the call. And we all got on because it was a group of us, right? They had a group of people. And one lady in like a tie-dye shirt, and her kid was screaming. It was a shit show. So
yeah, and you never want to wave the micro penis on the camera. We saw what happened to Jeffrey Toobin. That was pretty sad. You don't want to be Jeffrey Toobin here, man.
Yeah. So. One guy on the Zoom got told if you don't finish this thing the next time you show up, you're going to jail for 2 days. So that was great. So all
right. So Travis had pants on this morning. You might not have them on now, but talk to us about Minnesota and Orlando.
Minnesota. So let's talk about Ant Edwards. I'm sure not just AP. I know a lot of people have put him in their cores, but I know AP has been preaching in our Discord chat about the Ant Edwards usage. Listen, if you've been paying close attention to the NBA, Ant Edwards said, I'm sick of fucking passing the ball, right? He's done with that shit. He's shooting the ball. He's taking over. And, of course, it helps that Julius Randle, has not been as active with the team. He will be in this game. We don't really give a shit about Julius Randle at 7.4K right now. I don't think he's that good of a play. I think Ant is the guy. That's the one that I want to focus on. When it comes to the other plays, DC said it on another show not too long ago. Naz Reid at 4.7 is pretty much always in play just because of the ceiling that he provides. The price just never goes up enough. it just keeps yo-yoing back and forth with his performances. He either goes off or he has a shit game. 4.7K, I think he's in play, especially if Orlando does want to play more double bigs. This feels like it plays into the favor of both teams. Also, Rudy Gobert, I mean, he is 5.5K in a matchup where going up against Orlando, I mean, Goga is not this big man that I'm scared of defensively. Rudy Gobert is going to be needed to play a ton. I think Rudy at 5.5 is pretty good too. So those are kind of three plays on the Minnesota side that I would be looking at. The Orlando side, it's a little bit tougher with them. Cole Anthony for one at 5.8K. He's got to be in the conversation just because of the upside he presents. Problem is he's so
You're playing these dudes from this total under 200 first game of the night. You're playing guys from Magic and Timberwolves. Really? You're talking about this game like you're going to game stack it.
Well, there's three guys I think you should consider on to Timberwolves. And then I think on the Orlando side, there's one guy, and it's Cole Anthony at 5.8 because I know what his ceiling is. Like he's got to make his shots. If he makes his shots, it's 40. If he doesn't, it's like 22. It just is what Cole Anthony does. It's either a snowflake or it's a flame. It's how he plays. So I have four plays that are not bad in this game, DC. I wasn't going to talk about liking Anthony Black and Trevelyan Queen if you'd let me finish. I don't like Goga at 7K, who's someone that pops up in, optimizers at times. But Rudy Gobert's defense will be there. But DC, you can't tell me Rudy Gobert at 5.5K is not in play. It's a crazy price tag for him in a matchup where both sides are going to play their big men. It plays into the favor of both sides. So 5.5K Rudy Gobert, who had 34 DK points and 41 DK points in the last two games and is going to play 36 minutes, he's in play, DC.
All right.
I concede the point.
we got look, I mean, Gobert at 5.5, he's still fucking Rudy Gobert, though, DC.
It's 5.5, DC. It's not 6.6. It's 5.5. Everyone has a price.
I was kind of half agreeing with you, right? You didn't let me finish, Travis.
Okay,
what
fair
I'm
enough.
going to say is it's a tough click. I can't imagine. I was just looking at ownership. I didn't see Rudy Gobert on the first page. So, DC, we got a Rudy Gobert shout out. I don't completely disagree with it. I don't know if I want a lot. I never want a lot of him, but it sounds like you're totally off this game. You're not even playing Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, no, not in this game. I mean, is this the lowest total of the year? This game's
I believe it has so far, yeah.
Okay, so on a 7-game slate with a ton of news to come, no, I don't really want to play players on two relatively healthy teams on the lowest total of the year. I'll pass on this one entirely.
All right, the crowd in chat with the Mangone Siege comparison.
Oh,
I mean, hey, it's not a bad day to be the Siege. Go Irish, right, DC?
it's always a bad day to be the Siege, but yeah, go
All right, let's move on. I don't know him, so I'm not talking about him. He seems like a nice fellow. All right, Golden State, the Warriors heading into Detroit. DC, we'll stick with you. Osar Thompson is in. He's probable. It is the Pistons, but you think he's going to play. Steph is going to play. Draymond's going to play. Andrew Wiggins had to go back home. He forgot his shorts or something. Peyton Moody and Brandon Podziemski are out. Dennis Schroeder is in. This is a 222.5 total. Again, maybe a little tougher to get excited about this. There is risk, of course, if Memphis all of a sudden does play two of those three guys. But what are you doing here, DC? The Warriors at the Pistons.
Yeah, I think it's the value guys for me here from the Warriors. They're just too cheap. I mean, someone like Buddy Hield, who the minutes, like they're kind of all over the place, his minutes and production. But, I mean, 3,600 when you know he's probably going to be launching threes in this game against a not great defense. I think he gets 25-plus minutes here. I think he's really interesting. And then, yeah, I mean, Kyle Anderson, he pops up too at 3,400. I think he's fine depending on your build if you're trying to get studs in. I like those guys, but like Steph, Schroeder, Draymond, I think I'm mostly off those. So mostly the value from the Warriors for me. And then Detroit is, at this point for me, mostly with them, it's kind of Cade Cunningham or bust. I played him last night, did not come through, but wouldn't be surprised to see him bounce back with the big game here. I think he's going to have consistently strong games for Detroit right now with Ivy out. So Cunningham for Detroit, and then the value plays for the Warriors I think are pretty good. Hield, Anderson, maybe Trace Jackson Davis.
I was going to ask you about Jackson Davis because at 5K, we've seen what centers are doing to this Detroit team. The minutes seem to be about as steady as they are for any member of the Warriors for him right now. He does come with some ownership here, but I do think the matchup and the likelihood that he plays minutes are pretty good here. Travis, what are your thoughts on the Pistons and the Warriors?
Yeah, the Trace Jackson Davis is definitely he's definitely a good play. He's going to be really chalky though, so you can always make the case if more center options open up. There's a contrarian way to pivot off of him if you would like, but he's clearly a good play. He's currently a cash game lock right now, as crazy as it sounds, but that's where I would put him depending on how this Memphis news hits, which I'm kind of waiting for in the next 12 minutes to see what happens. Another guy to like a little bit here, and it's a little bit of a homecoming game for him too. He's from this area. Draymond Green at 5'7", just there's upside. You can't totally ignore that. And he's someone that likes to fight people. Malice at the Palace, little throwback. You never know if Draymond Green gets a little feisty. So
does he have a strong history in Detroit? That's an interesting one because he used to be. So if you want to go all the way back, if you watch the Malice in the Palace documentary, he actually used to be in the locker room with the players because he was best friends with the owner's son. And he would go in and hang out with Rasheed Wallace and all those guys. And they basically said, yeah, we're the ones to blame for Draymond being so physical because we basically taught him to be that way. So, I mean, at 5'7", again, kind of like Rudy Gobert, he was 6'6" or 6'8". I'm not as excited, but at 5'7", there's upside for Draymond. When you say that his minutes upside is a little higher if he's playing back at home and playing well, I mean.
Not just that, there's no Wiggins, there's no Kuminga, where that takes away them playing at the 4 at times, or maybe.
I'm jumping on the Draymond train. I'm in.
Yeah,
Do you get points for control time as well with Draymond on this slate?
Well, you get points when you get assists. So you got to have the ball in your hand first to get those assists, JT. So control time actually turns into assists, not only in basketball, but in soccer, in hockey, in a lot of sports.
And in the bedroom. Bonus points for control time, depending on
how many Warriors is too many, man?
Probably 2. I would say. I don't want to play too many. I liked your buddy Hield call. I don't mind that. I don't need to get to Curry in this spot. But you can always make the case if he's 1% owned, sure he could pop off. But I don't really love him. And I know I saw AP talking up Oscar Thompson a little bit. If he's gonna have ownership, I don't want to play someone like him. He's one of those guys. You gotta know what the ownership's gonna be on him. My guy, Tobias Harris, he's 6'3". My problem with him is he's 6'3" now, right? It's just a little too pricey for me with some of the values that we already have on this slate. So not excited about him, but Cade Cunningham at 10-2. There's not a lot of good spends on this slate. This is not a slate. If you sort by best players, right? Cade Cunningham's the most expensive guy. It's Trae Young, then Cade Cunningham. And then it falls off a cliff, right? It's Kevin Durant, Scotty Barnes. Cade Cunningham is a really strong spend-up option. He's one of the top raw point plays on this slate.
Do we know
Another one.
All right. Yeah. All right. We've got DC. You had a point you wanted to make?
I was going to ask Megan if you knew what the Warriors starting lineup's going to be for sure.
I don't know. I assume it's Trace, Draymond, because that makes sense going up against them.
Curry, Schroeder, Hield?
Yeah, it'd probably be Curry, Schroeder. Actually, I bet it's Lindy Waters. Lindy Waters makes sense. They love to start him for no reason.
Lindy Waters.
So.
This is and again, this is one we're going to get this here hopefully in about the next 10 minutes. Yeah. This is one where you have to be careful because the starter isn't always the guy that you want. So next one, Toronto at Cleveland. Back-to-back here for Cleveland, Travis. Talk to me about the game theory of them coming off a big win over the Thunder. Donovan Mitchell sitting. Is this a spot where maybe it's a little bit of a letdown? Just a little bit of a letdown for the main guys, and then you can see guys. Sam Merrill, by the way, is available to play. You could see guys like George Niang, like Max Struss, maybe like Sam Merrill, maybe like Ty Jerome, be the guys that get most of the run here against a beleaguered Raptors team. What are your thoughts on the Raptors and the Cavs?
Yeah, no Donovan Mitchell's huge, right? That's going to funnel usage somewhere else. We did just get the starting lineup. It's Darius Garland, LeVert, Wade, Mobley, and Allen. I think Karis LeVert is one of the best plays on the slate at 4.1K. It's nice that he is starting. I don't know what that does with his ownership versus when he's not starting, but I just think it helps him in general because against a team like the Raptors, sometimes you worry about blowout. Like, I just know he's getting the minutes tonight. He's 4.1K. I just really don't care. I'm playing Karis LeVert. He's a great play at the shooting guard position is where I would prefer him. Evan Mobley's probably my next favorite option at 8K. It is a little pricey, but I talked about it before. We don't have a lot of spend up, so that's not a huge problem. And then Jared Allen, 6.4K. That's just too cheap for Jared Allen. We talked about a lot of big men that are kind of too cheap on this. You got to really put him in that bucket. Darius Garland at 7.3. I could see him pop off, but I think he's the worst of that big four. And then Dean Wade, listen, it's Dean Wade. There's better values I can get to. If he gets there, great, but I'd rather be under the field on Dean Wade. And the Toronto Raptors, they're just a little crowded now. You could make the case, hey, Emmanuel Quickly, is he cheap at 6.7? Yeah, sure. He could easily pop off a Jakob Poeltl, but I want to be well underweight on these Toronto Raptors.
Looks like most of these Memphis guys are on track to play. Jackson, Bane, Santi Aldama on track to play. We've got another one coming in now.
Ja game time decision just came through.
So, all right. So that's not as hideous, DC, as it could have been. So certainly some changes there. We'll talk about that when we get to that game. Talk to us. What's that?
I don't know where that came from.
Talk to us, DC. Yeah, talk to us, DC, about Toronto at Cleveland. Max Truss at 3,800 is a guy that seems way too cheap. Seems like he's going to get – not seems like. He's going to get extra minutes tonight because it's a back-to-back. And as long as his shots go down even moderately well, he's going to smash that price tag.
Yeah, I'm glad the Memphis guys look like they're maybe going to be in there because I really like this Cleveland team tonight, especially the cheap guys. LeVert at 4,100. I mean, he's probably going to play 25, 30 minutes here. He's going to shoot. Cleveland projected for by far the most points of any team overall on this slate. Toronto, I mean, they're just not any good. And this Cleveland team, even without Mitchell, right, is still a really strong team. They're going to play well. So I kind of like all these Cleveland guys that are going to get minutes, especially the cheap ones. LeVert, Ty Jerome, I think, is a lock at 3,300. A good player who just doesn't play as many minutes as he could because he's behind two really good guards in Garland and Mitchell. So I really like Jerome. He's cheap. The Strus call, right? You're going to get probably, 6 or 7 like open threes in this game from Strus across 25, 30 minutes at 3,800. That's a great spot to invest in, I think. And then Mobley and Allen, I don't know if I want to play those guys together, but I'm fine with either one. Mobley at 8K, Allen at 6,400. I think I'd choose between them on any individual lineup. So, yeah, very, very high on Cleveland here. I think you can play for sure 3, maybe 4 Cleveland guys in a lineup tonight if the Memphis guys mostly end up playing. If if the whole Memphis team is out, you're going to need Memphis. I mean, that's just probably going to be.
It sounds like 3 of them are going to be in. So it's enough that are going to be in to where even if, let's say, John misses, Scottie Pippen Jr.'s price tag now has caught up to where he is for starting. So it's not like you're getting that value from a guy who's out with Memphis. And honestly, the other prices here, 9,600 for Jackson Jr. We'll talk about that game when we get to it, but hard to get more than a few shares of those guys in the pool. All right, we'll move on. Portland heading into Dallas. This is the game that was moved up. I think it was moved up either at least a half hour, if not a full hour, DC. Dallas favored by 8, 221 total. This is a back-to-back for the Portland Trailblazers after a shocking at least to me it was a shocking beatdown of the Pelicans last night. For the Portland Trailblazers, Donovan Clingan is going to be playing in this game. Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle have been ruled out. Robert Williams was doubtful earlier, or at least he was listed as doubtful on some sites, now questionable. Just hasn't been playing back-to-backs. For Dallas, we know that Kyrie and Luka remain out. Gafford in. Markieff Morris, for some reason, is listed as out. And PJ Washington looks like a game time decision at least. So there we go. Stephen Crichton says Williams is out. He better be right. Stephen. Beanair is excited. We always love it when he's here. DC, talk to me about the Trailblazers and the Mavs.
I think this one's kind of tricky. Dallas, you would think losing or being without both Luka and Kyrie, these are just kind of like slam spots, but like the team hasn't played very well. And Dinwiddie, like, he's just not really up to being like the lead. He's not Kyrie Irving or Luka or anything close to those guys. So the team kind of falls apart without those two guys. It makes sense. You'd kind of expect them to. But they do get, a home game against Portland here where they are pretty big favorites. So this could be a game where, Dinwiddie he's the lead guard. And like if the kind of the predicted total and outcome holds true, you would think he would have a pretty big game. So I like him a little bit. I don't think I'm going to end up on him, but I do like Dinwiddie some. Hardy, another guy they need scoring from. I think he's interesting at 4,200, but man, I just don't trust Dallas fully. So maybe missing on them tonight. But there are just other spots I like a little bit better. Portland, not really on them either.
All right, fair points there. Robert Williams is out, Steven, so no timeout for you. Good news there. Travis, Portland, Dallas, your thoughts? You've been quiet for a while.
Yeah, I did. Before we go to that real quick, DC, I do think you could make the argument for 3 Warriors now, because I was thinking 2 before the Grizzlies stuff, but and I know you made that face, JT, but it depends on the starting lineup. I'll call that out.
My problem is I don't need the salary to get to the I don't need the salary savings for Buddy Hield, but I don't know.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes if you're struggling because you just have like the salary to spend for stuff, like that's why Curry could fall on as the last guy. So that's the reason why I mentioned maybe you could get to 3. But one thing I'll call out is I think a lot of cash game builds are leaning that way, which always means, hey, if it's Spurs, if there's 3 Spurs or 4 Spurs in cash games, you probably want to go under, right? Same with the Warriors. It's like a typical rule of thumb. But Portland and Dallas. Dallas is a tough one because I don't love like PJ Washington at 6'9", just like when you say the words PJ Washington 6'9", but he has been performing and we have salary today. So I don't think he is the craziest play. I do want to see what that starting lineup is. I know Dinwiddie started the other night in a revenge game against the Lakers. Could they not start him when they pulled him the other day? I don't know. That's one thing to kind of monitor. DeAndre Ayton isn't a bad option at 6K. I just think the price tag has been intriguing. I've been saying it for the past couple slates. He's definitely paid it off at 6K. There's just upside at that price with that, with the build that we have today, where we don't have to go down for all these cheap options. Can maybe build like a mid-tier kind of build. So I think he's in play. Denny Avdia, he's another one again. I think he's in play at 7.1K. Shadon Sharp, I don't think he's a bad option in this spot. The other guys I don't love is like Quentin Grimes, Klay Thompson. Like those are guys I really don't need to take shots on. I get it, but I just think they're a bit overpriced for the performances they've been putting up, and I don't see it changing anytime soon the way this offense has been going. And the real guy we have to kind of figure out, I think, is Najee Marshall, because he was chalk the other day, had a very bad game. I'm not seeing him being chalky right now. And well, why is that, right? Yes, he played the starting point guard position the other night technically, and then the next night he didn't, and then he struggled. I think Najee Marshall in a matchup where you could pick up a lot of stocks, which is something he is good at, I actually think he's a pretty good play to bounce back from, little flop lag. So give me Najee Marshall at 5K as a pretty good play.
Also, Thompson is in. Tim Hardaway Jr. questionable now. Travis, the one thing I'll say, for a team that has been struggling, Portland on a back-to-back at home seems like a spot where they might get right. I mean, it seems like a good spot for the Mavs here, even though they have been struggling. But we'll move on to the next game, and this is one that I think we should spend a little time talking about. Houston at Memphis. We have the Memphis news for the most part, with Aldama, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson being on track to play. John Morant, a game time decision. Marcus Smart remains out. On the Houston side, Fred VanVleet is back. Tari Eason is still doubtful. And Amen Thompson has been on a run. Really big game last slate. He looks like he's drawing 50% ownership, maybe more ownership. Team Underground says Eason is out. If that happened recently. Travis, talk to me about Houston and Memphis, and in particular, Amen Thompson.
Yeah, with Tari Eason out, I mean, Amen Thompson his role's been amazing. What'd you say?
Eason is ruled out. Just happened, yes.
Yes. So I love Amen Thompson at 7.1K. He's definitely a core play for me, someone that I like a lot. So I'll be looking at him a ton. I think Fred VanVleet's not bad at 7.2K. I know it was mentioned in the playbook. Şengün's got a tough matchup, and honestly, I just don't see myself spending at center today, right? Like, I just think there's so many really good center values that I want to get to, and I just think Şengün's not the best way of allocating your salary today. So I will not be playing that much Şengün. Jalen Green at 6'5", you could definitely make an argument for him. I mean, he's shown it the last couple games, so it's really looking at the guards and kind of keying in on those guys. Another guy I just want to call out that I don't think is a great play. It is a revenge game for our guy, Dylan Brooks. We love to talk about him, and he's always an interesting player, but he's only power forward eligible, which I think that kind of hurts him on this slate, especially when we have spend-up power forward options like Kevin Durant and some other ones. So I really don't think Dylan Brooks is that great of a play because of how his positionality is, just being only at power forward eligible. And then if you are looking for any other cheap options that could get there, Cam Whitmore certainly could at 3.8. But I think the three I want to focus on are Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, and Jalen Green. They really fit a nice balanced build today.
All right. Dylan Brooks has played against Memphis several times now, so I don't know if he's still getting up for that revenge game, but I understand what people are talking about. Chris Henderson, no offense taken here. Tyrus, I don't remember talking about Tyrus. What team are you asking about? And we will go ahead and tell you the guys that we're interested in for that. We were just talking about Amen Thompson, and Buddy Hield is starting. So Buddy Hield's starting at 3,600, I believe. I still think Struss is an interesting pivot. You can't get away from Hield, I don't think, with the people that are out for Golden State. DC, Houston, Memphis, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, just briefly on Amen Thompson, like, I think he's fadeable at 50% in GPPs just because, I mean.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest stand so far, is going about half or a third of what that ownership is.
He's a really, really special player, but he is still like extremely raw offensively, where he doesn't really even shoot very much, doesn't look for his shot. And he is a guy who, like he needs those 13, 14 rebounds that he's getting. And listen, I love him. If he ever learns to shoot, he's going to be fantastic. But until then, I do think there are ways where maybe he doesn't quite get there. I haven't quite decided what I'm doing with him. I'll probably have him on one or two, frankly, of my three lineups and just kind of hedge it out. Other than that, Houston I don't love. And then Memphis, the guy that's been going crazy, Jaren Jackson, has just been on an absolute tear. I assume nobody's going to pay up the 9,600 for him. But, man, look what he's doing with Ja Morant out right now. It's game after game, 45, 55, 65 fantasy points. So if you're looking for a big spend that I don't think many people will have, correct me if I'm wrong, Mangone, but, I think Sabres got him at 1% owned. I think he's interesting to me there with the upside that he brings to the table.
Who did you reference?
Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to have Ja Morant out at that price, though.
Yeah, but honestly, you're 1,000% right, DC. And we talked about it, too. Like, there's just not a lot of spend-ups today. And, like, Jaren Jackson is a guy. Again, he could easily get 60 DK points and pop off. And, he could easily lock up Şengün and give him some problems. And Şengün will put up those shots, and those stocks will come. So I think you're on to something there.
All right. Travis and DC in agreement.
You hear that, JT? I'm on to something.
I heard that. We may have to clip that. And use that for the future. Chris Henderson, if you get back to us, in the next 23 minutes, we will go ahead and circle back to whatever team that was that you were asking about. DC. Next game, last couple of games of the night, Atlanta, the Hawks head out to Phoenix. Jalen Johnson has been ruled out, which is pretty big for the Hawks. Some injury news that's big. I think Okongwu is a bigger piece of news here than Bogdan Bogdanović, quite frankly. But they are both questionable. Royce O'Neal out for Phoenix. And then, of course, they are desperate, apparently, to trade Bradley Beal. He and Yusuf Nurkic looks like they're going to come off the bench again. Bradley Beal went nuts the other night. What are your thoughts here on the Hawks and the Suns?
Yeah, I think the most interesting play here is Trae Young. Again, assuming he's in there listed as probable, his role changed a lot when Jalen Johnson went out. I think maybe a little bit more than people realize. His assist prop for the game 2 days ago was against Utah was set at 12.5. I took the over there. He got 20 assists. The reason I took the over, he had 28 potential assists against the Clippers. So he is doing absolutely everything. You see the shot attempts are a little bit low these last 2 games, just 16 each. It's because he was setting up his teammates constantly all game long, 20 assists, 14 assists. So, I mean, what does that tell you? He's got the ball in his hands constantly. He's driving or looking for his three-pointer. It just so happened in these last 2 games, the teams made him pass to his teammates, right? But what happens if the defense changes a little bit and they say, "Oh, you're setting everybody up, we're going to let you bomb away from 3." Like, I could see Trae Young just going absolutely off. So I absolutely love Trae Young tonight. And again, there's not that many spends. I think he's right up there with Cade Cunningham for me.
Travis, thoughts on the Hawks and the Suns?
Yeah, we did just get word that Tim Hardaway Jr. is out and Oscar Thompson is starting. So that definitely, we'll be adjusting our projections over here, and that definitely makes him a little bit of a better play.
Gonna play the law firm of Thompson and Thompson over there, Mango?
You could do that. I don't know if I will, but I got to be careful with the Pistons a little bit today. But Oscar is definitely one of the best Pistons, I would say now. This game is definitely one that, I think it's more just saved for the stars. Trae Young, Kevin Durant, both really good plays, 10-3 and 9.2K. Devin Booker, 9K. He's another spend that you can get to on this slate. If there's a spot where Devin Booker has a big game, right, it's in the matchup against the Hawks where they're not playing any defense. He's getting all those free shots up. So I do think it's a good spot for them. You could make the case that Dyson Daniels maybe locks him up, and that could funnel the usage over to Kevin Durant if you're someone that believes in matchups and thinks that's the thing. Listen, I think Kevin Durant is a better play over Devin Booker. So if you tell me I got to play one, that's the one that I would play. Tyus Jones at 5'2", there's upside there, but keep in mind, he could definitely bust. That's the one issue, but it's a good matchup against a team like the Hawks. And if you do think Dyson Daniels is going to be on Devin Booker a ton, that would funnel usage to maybe have that ceiling game for someone like Tyus Jones at 5.2K. Other than that, though, that's it. I want the stars, right? I want Trae Young. I want Durant. Those are the 2 guys I'm looking at if we're spending up here.
All right. We'll move on. DC, you talked about this game. We'll move on to the last game of the night, the Heat and the Jazz. Jimmy Butler remains suspended. Kevin Love has been ruled out. Tyler Herro is going to play. And as we mentioned before, Josh Richardson is questionable. On the Utah side, John Collins, Keontae George, Bryce Sensabaugh, all ruled out. Colin Sexton is in. Travis, Utah still has a bunch of guys, though. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts here, Miami and Utah?
Yeah, so I think Tyler Herro price is a little expensive. It's a good matchup, but 9K for Tyler Herro. I just can't get behind it. There's other ways I'd rather spend my salary today. I'd rather go to an Ant Edwards, who we talked about, who's getting a ton of usage. Bam Adebayo at 8.2. I don't think he is a bad option if you are looking for some spend ups. Colin Sexton, he seems like a pretty good play on both the sites. I don't mind him at 6.7K. Walker Kessler, I don't love the matchup. I like him in the softer center matchup, like in a spot against maybe the Detroit Pistons. Not really this spot. We do have to obviously figure out what the starting lineup is going to be. Terry Rozier, he could be an intriguing option at 5K, or Jaquez at 5.3, or even a Jovic at 4.7. But they're all within the similar price range. So that's something we're going to have to update later on and kind of wait on. So that's something that I'm going to be making sure to take note of. And Lycan, you're 1,000% right. Hero's matchup is the nuts, right? It's the nuts matchup against Utah. But he is 9K. It's pretty pricey for me. And when I just look at some of these other spins, there's other ones I'd rather go to. And, DC will get mad if I mention one more guy to play in this game. So I got to make sure I don't.
No, I was enjoying I was trying to finish my teams over here, so I was enjoying your launch speed.
All right. DC, thoughts on this last game of the night?
Yeah, I don't think I'll end up with too much from here. I agree with Mangone. I like Tyler Hero, a good player, obviously in a good role. I just don't think he's quite like a 9K player. He's not on the same level, as in my opinion, as a Cunningham or a Trae Young. So I probably won't get up to Tyler Hero. I think Bam is my favorite play from the Heat. Obviously going to play a ton of minutes. We know Utah plays big, isn't that great? Seems like Bam kind of just has I don't know, like dink and dunk his way to 45 fantasy points, something like that. So don't mind that. Utah, I mean, I think Sexton is fine. But again, 6,700 to me, just getting up there a little bit. There are better spots, I think, to invest, safer spots with a little bit more upside as well. So mostly off this game, JT.
All right. We will, any questions, go ahead and drop them in. We got 17 minutes here until lock. We'll go with the plays of the day. DC, we'll start with you.
Ooh, play of the day. I got to go with my guy, Buddy. Was on him before the starting lineup announcement. He's in there. I think he could have a big game here in Detroit.
It's a pretty highly owned play of the day, DC. Are we gonna?
I'll give another one. Go back to Mangone. I'll give a lower one then.
All right, I'm gonna go, and then we'll go Mangone, and then we'll end with you. I'm going with Max Struss. I like Karis LeVert as a play, but 20-plus minutes last night. I think Struss gets about 5 or 6 minutes extra. Great matchup here, particularly against Toronto. Sweet Travis. Who's the Sweet Travis play of the day?
Yeah, hopefully it's not too highly owned for your liking, JT, but I'm going with Draymond Green. I think it's a good spot for my guy, Draymond. I think he's just in a great matchup. And I like him in these spots. It also helps, it's aligned with our guy JBC, who's been on a bit of a heater after winning the Millie Maker, having a good run in NBA even after. So it's good to see that I'm in the same company as him over on the core plays, and also our guy AP. So, hey, we got him in some of the cores over here at Run Pure.
All right. Draymond Green, popular for Run Pure Sports here tonight. DC, who is it?
Trae Young going off from deep tonight in Phoenix.
Trae Young. All right. Trae Young. We got Trae Young, Max Struss, Buddy Hield, and Draymond Green. S. Scott says he can't stand Draymond. Me neither, but at 5,700 against the Pistons.
Yeah.
Cannot argue with Travis's logic. One question here from Ricky K. Struss or Anderson GPP? Oh, Jesus. Max Struss. Anyone disagree with that assessment that you would play Max Struss over Kyle Anderson?
Definitely agree. Good call.
Okay. All right. We're going to give it about another minute. Any questions, go ahead and drop them in. If not, we'll get out of here. We'll finish our lineups. The core plays are on the site. I think the last one is going up right now. DC's cores are up. You've got some player pools. Guys are in Discord. They'll be answering questions just in case some news comes out. Particularly about John Morant, particularly about the Jazz starting lineup, we think is one that is certainly one to watch. The Mavs starting lineup is something to pay attention to. So runpuresports.com, the Discord is where you want to be for all that news. But we'll let you guys get to making your lineups. Like I said, guys will be in Discord answering questions all the way up until lock and then after lock. For DC, for Sweet Travis, I'm JT. Good luck in your contest tonight.